Teach the Controversy is a campaign conducted by the Discovery Institute to promote the pseudo-scientific principle of intelligent design, a variant of traditional creationism, while attempting to discredit the teaching of evolution in United States public high school science courses. The campaign claims that fairness and equal time requires educating students with a critical analysis of evolution, where the full range of scientific views, evolution's unresolved issues, and the scientific weaknesses of evolutionary theory will be presented and evaluated alongside intelligent design concepts like irreducible complexity presented as a scientific argument against evolution through oblique references to books by design proponents listed in the bibliography of the Institute's proposed critical analysis of evolution lesson plans. The intelligent design movement and the Teach the Controversy campaign are directed and supported largely by the Discovery Institute, a conservative Christian think tank based in Seattle, Washington, United States. The overall goals of the movement were stated as to defeat scientific materialism, and to replace with the theistic understanding that nature and human beings are created by God. The scientific community and science education organizations have replied that there is no scientific controversy regarding the validity of evolution and that the controversy exists solely in terms of religion and politics. A federal court, along with the majority of scientific organizations, including the American Association for the Advancement of Science, say the Institute has manufactured the controversy they want to teach by promoting a false perception that evolution is a theory in crisis by falsely claiming it is the subject of wide controversy and debate within the scientific community. McGill University professor Brian Alters, an expert in the creation-evolution controversy, is quoted in an article published by the NIH as stating that 99.9% of scientists accept evolution, whereas intelligent design has been rejected by the overwhelming majority of the scientific community. In the December 2005 ruling of Kitzmiller v. Dover Area School District, Judge John E. Jones III concluded that intelligent design is not science and cannot uncouple itself from its creationist, and thus religious, antecedents. The Dover ruling also characterized teaching the controversy as part of a religious ploy. Origin of phrase. The term "teach the controversy" originated with Gerald Graff, a professor of English and education at the University of Illinois at Chicago, as an admonition to teach that established knowledge is not simply given as a settled matter, but that it is created in a crucible of debate and controversy. To the chagrin of Graff, who describes himself as a liberal secularist, the idea was later appropriated by Philip E. Johnson, Discovery Institute program advisor and father of the ID movement, discussing the 1999-2000 Kansas State Board of Education controversy over the teaching of intelligent design in public school classrooms. Johnson wrote, "What educators in Kansas and elsewhere should be doing is to teach the controversy." Quote. In his book, Johnson proposed casting the conflicting points of view and agendas as a scholarly controversy. Johnson's usage differs somewhat from Graff's original concept. While Graff advocated that a comprehensive understanding of what considered to be established concepts must include teaching the debates and conflicts by which they were established, Johnson appropriated the phrase to cast doubt upon the very concept of established knowledge. The phrase was picked up by other Discovery Institute affiliates Stephen C. Meyer, David K. DeWolf, and Mark E. D. Forrest in the 1999 article, Teaching the Controversy, Darwinism, Design and the Public School Science Curriculum, published by the Foundation for Thought and Ethics. The Foundation for Thought and Ethics also publishes the controversial Pro-Intelligent Design Biology textbook of Pandas and People. suggested as an alternative to mainstream science and biology textbooks in the critical analysis of evolution lesson plans proposed by Teach.The. Controversy. Proponents. Development of the strategy. The roots of the intelligent design movement's strategy are found in the past attempts of creationists to force religious views into public school science classes. The most recent of these had been Creation Science, which sought to provide a scientific veneer from the biblical account of Genesis. The characteristics of the intelligent design movement are a direct response to the tactical and legal failings of earlier creationist movements. Design proponents' strategies represent a natural evolution of the creation science movement, proceeding still further in the direction of claiming the mantle of science while denying the religious intentions in argument. Comparisons of the drafts of the intelligent design textbook of Pandas and People before and after the 1987 Edwards v. Aguillard ruling showed that the definition given in the book for creation science in pre-Edwards drafts is identical to the definition of intelligent design in post-Edwards drafts. Cognates of the word creation, creationism and creationist, which appeared approximately 150 times, were deliberately and systematically replaced with the phrase intelligent design, and the changes occurred shortly after the Supreme Court ruled in Edwards that creation science is religious and cannot be taught in public school science classes. The campaign was devised by Stephen C. Meyer and Discovery Institute founder and president Bruce Chapman as a compromise strategy in March 2002. They had come to the realization that the dispute over intelligent design's scientific standing was complicating their efforts to have evolution challenged in the science classroom. This strategy was designed to move the focus onto an approach that stresses open debate and evolution's purported weakness, but does not require students to study intelligent design. The intention was to create doubt over evolution and avoid the question of whether the intelligent designer was God, while giving the Institute time to strengthen the purported theory of intelligent design. Another advantage of this strategy was to allay teacher fears of legal action. Employment of the strategy. The Discovery Institute's strategy has been for the Institute itself or groups acting on its behalf to lobby state and local boards of education, and local, state and federal policy makers to enact policies and/or laws, often in the form of textbook disclaimers and the language of state science standards, that undermine or remove evolutionary theory from the public school science classroom by portraying it as controversial and, in crisis, a portrayal that stands in contrast to the overwhelming consensus of the scientific community that there is no controversy, that evolution is one of the best supported theories in all of science, and that whatever controversy does exist is political and religious, not scientific. The Teach.The controversy strategy has benefited from stacking municipal, county and state school boards with intelligent design proponents, as alluded to in the Discovery Institute's wedge strategy. As the primary organizer and promoter of the Teach.The controversy campaign, the Discovery Institute has played a central role in nearly all intelligent design cases, often working behind the scenes to orchestrate, underwrite and support local campaigns and intelligent design groups such as the Intelligent Design Network. It has provided support ranging from material assistance to federal, state and regionally elected representatives in the drafting of bills to the provision of support and advice to individual parents confronting the school boards. DI's goal is to move from battles over standards to curriculum writing and textbook book adoption while undermining the central positions of evolution in biology and methodological naturalism in science. In order to make the proposals more palatable, the Institute and its supporters claim to advocate presenting evidence both for and against evolution, thus encouraging students to evaluate the evidence. Though the controversy is presented by its proponents as encouraging academic freedom, it, along with the Santorum Amendment, is viewed by many academics as a threat to academic freedom and is rejected by the National Science Teachers Association and the American Association for the Advancement of Science. The American Society for Clinical Investigation's Journal of Clinical Investigation describes the the controversy strategy and campaign as a hoax, and that the controversy is manufactured, along with the objection that there is no scientific controversy to teach. Another common objection is that the controversy campaign and intelligent design arise out of a Christian fundamentalist and evangelistic movement that calls for broad social, academic and political changes. Intelligent design proponents argue the concepts and motives should be given independent consideration. Those critical of intelligent design see the two as intertwined and inseparable, citing the foundational documents of the movement such as the Wedge document and statements made by intelligent design proponents to their constituents. The judge in the Kitzmiller v. Dover Area School District trial considered testimony and evidence from both sides on the question of the motives of intelligent design proponents, when he ruled that ID cannot uncouple itself from its creationist, and thus religious, antecedents, and that ID is an interesting theological argument, but it is not science. In the debate surrounding the linking of the motives of intelligent design proponents to their arguments, following the Kansas evolution hearings, the chairman of the Kansas School Board, Steve Abrams, cited in the New York Times as saying that though he's a creationist who believes that God created the universe 6,500 years ago, he is able to keep the two separate. In my personal faith, yes, I am a creationist. But that doesn't have anything to do with science. I can separate them. My personal views of Scripture have no room in the science classroom. Afterward, Lawrence Krauss, a Case Western Reserve University physicist and astronomer, in a New York Times essay said, "A key concern should not be whether Abrams's religious views have a place in the classroom, but rather how someone whose religious views require a denial of essentially all modern scientific knowledge can be chairman of a state school board." As we work to improve the abysmal state of science education in our public schools, we will continue to battle with those who feel that knowledge is a threat to religious faith. We should remember that the battle is not against faith but against ignorance. A rudimentary form of the the controversy strategy had emerged first among creationists following the Supreme Court's Edwards v. Aguilar decision. The Institute for Creation Research prepared an evaluation of what the movement should try next, suggesting school boards and teachers should be strongly encouraged at least to stress the scientific evidences and arguments against evolution in the classes, even if they don't wish to recognize these as evidences and arguments for creationism. Glenn Branch of the National Center for Science Education says this comment shows that the the controversy strategy was pioneered in the wake of Edwards v. Aguilar. Prior to the September 2005 start of the Kitzmiller v. Dover Area School District trial, the Dover trial Prominent intelligent design proponents gradually shifted to teach the controversy strategy. They had realized that mandates requiring the teaching of intelligent design were unlikely to survive challenges based on the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment, and that an unfavorable ruling had the effect of legally ruling intelligent design a form of religious creationism. Thus, the Discovery Institute repositioned itself. It publicly abandoned advocating for any policies or laws that required the teaching of intelligent design in favor of a teach the controversy strategy. Institute fellows reasoned that once the fact that a controversy indeed exists had been established in the public's mind, then the reintroduction of intelligent design into public school criteria would be much less controversial later. The best illustration of this shift in strategy is comparing the Discovery Institute's 1999 guidebook Intelligent Design in Public School Science curricula, which concludes, school boards have the authority to permit, and even encourage, teaching about design theory as an alternative to Darwinian evolution, to 2006 statements by Philip E. Johnson, that his intent was never to use public school education as the forum for his ideas, and that he hoped to ignite and perpetuate a debate in universities and among the higher echelon of scientific thinkers. With the December 2005 ruling in Kitzmiller v. Dover Area School District, wherein Judge John E. Jones III concluded that intelligent design is not science, intelligent design proponents were left with the teach the controversy strategy as the most likely method left to realize the goals stated in the Wedge document. Thus, the teach the controversy strategy has become the primary thrust of the Discovery Institute in promoting its aims, just as intelligent design is a stalking horse for the campaign against what its proponents claim is a materialist foundation in science that precludes God. Teach the controversy has become a stalking horse for intelligent design, but the Dover ruling also characterized teaching the controversy as part of a religious ploy. Shift to critical analysis of evolution. By May 2006, the Discovery Institute sought to replace the failed teach the controversy strategy with a strategy broadened to include examples of other supposedly legitimate scientific controversies. In Ohio and Michigan, where school boards were again reviewing science curricula standards, the Discovery Institute and its allies proposed lesson plans that included global warming, cloning and stem cell research as further examples of controversies that are akin to the alleged scientific controversy over evolution. All four topics are widely accepted by the majority of the scientific community as legitimate science, and all four are areas where U.S. political conservatives have been known to be critical of the scientific consensus. Members of the scientific community have responded to this tactic by pointing out that, like evolution, whatever controversy may exist over cloning and stem cell research has been largely social and political, while dissident viewpoints over global warming are often viewed as pseudoscience. Richard B. Hopper, holder of a Ph.D. in experimental psychology from the University of Minnesota, described the tactic in the following way. Like the attacks on evolution, the attack on climate science is driven by the sectarian conviction that materialistic science is untrustworthy and must be replaced. As with intelligent design creationism, science deniers so-called evidence takes the form of claims for the insufficiency of current scientific explanations rather than concrete, testable alternative hypotheses. As in the evolution debate, religious extremists use a clever strategy of denigrating the scientific consensus on causality by pretending it contrasts sharply with an alternative scientific theory that properly understood, is really just a more nuanced view that's not really in opposition. This exaggerates the intensity of normal scientific debate in order to suggest there's something wrong with climate science, and then uses this manufactured controversy to cloak the anti-science view and smuggle it into classrooms. Sectarian religious evangelism, masquerading as science, with the Dover ruling describing teach the controversy as at best disingenuous and at worst a canard. Intelligent design proponents have moved to a fallback position, emphasizing contrived flaws in evolution and overemphasizing remaining questions in the theory, what they call the critical analysis of evolution. The critical analysis of evolution strategy is viewed by Nick Matsky and other intelligent design critics as a means of teaching all the intelligent design arguments without using the intelligent design label. Critical analysis of evolution continues the themes of the teach the controversy strategy, emphasizing what they say are the criticisms of evolutionary theory and arguments against evolution, which continues to be portrayed as a theory in crisis. Early drafts of the critical analysis of evolution lesson plan referred to the lesson as the Great Evolution Debate. One of the early drafts of the lesson plan had one section titled Conducting the Macroevolution Debate. In a subsequent draft, it was changed to Conducting the Critical Analysis Activity. The wording for the two sections is nearly identical, with just debate changed to critical analysis activity wherever it appeared, in the manner of how intelligent design proponents simply replaced creation with intelligent design in of pandas and people to repackage a creation science textbook into an intelligent design textbook. Repercussions. The campaigns of intelligent design proponents seeking curricular challenges have been disruptive, divisive and expensive for the affected communities. In pursuing the goal of establishing intelligent design at the expense of evolution in public school science classes, intelligent design groups have threatened and isolated high school science teachers, school board members and parents who opposed their efforts. The campaigns run by intelligent design groups place teachers in the difficult position of arguing against their employers, while the legal challenges to local school districts are costly, diverting funding away from education and into court battles. For example, as a result of the Dover trial, the Dover Area School District was forced to pay $1,011 in legal fees and damages for pursuing a policy of teaching the controversy. 4 days after the 6-week Dover trial concluded, all 8 of the Dover school board members who were up for re-election were voted out of office. Televangelist Pat Robertson in turn told the citizens of Dover, "If there is a disaster in your area, don't turn to God. You just rejected him from your city." Robertson said if they have future problems in Dover, I recommend they call on Charles Darwin. Maybe he can help them. Critics, like Wesley R. Ellsbury, say the Discovery Institute has cynically manufactured much of the political and religious controversy to further its agenda, pointing to statements of prominent proponents like Johnson. Whether educational authorities allow the schools to teach about the controversy or not, public recognition that there is something seriously wrong with Darwinian orthodoxy is going to keep on growing, while the educators stonewall. Our job is to continue building the community of people who understand the difference between a science that tests its theories against the evidence, and a pseudoscience that protects its key doctrines by imposing philosophical rules and erecting legal barriers to freedom of thought. To the absence of actual scientific controversy over the validity of evolutionary theory, Johnson said, if the science educators continue to pretend that there is no controversy to teach, perhaps the television networks and the newspapers will take over the responsibility of informing the public. Unto the resistance of science educators over portraying evolution as controversial or disputed. Johnson said, "If the public school educators will not teach the controversy, our informal network can do the job for them. In time, the educators will be running to catch up." Ellsbury and others allege that statements like Johnson's are proof that the alleged scientific controversy intelligent design proponents seek to have taught is a product of the Institute's members and staff. In the Dover trials ruling, the judge wrote that intelligent design proponents had misrepresented the scientific status of evolution. According to published reports, the non-profit Discovery Institute received grants and gifts totaling $4.1 million for 2003 from 22 foundations. Of these, two-thirds had primarily religious missions. The Institute spends more than $1 million a year for research, polls, lobbying and media pieces that support intelligent design and that teach the controversy campaign, and is employing the same Washington, D.C. public relations firm that promoted the contract with America.